The rain hammered Seattle like fists from an angry god, turning the narrow alley behind my apartment into a river of regret. I slipped on the slick cobblestones, my phone shattering against the pavement as thunder cracked open the sky. And in that split second, I saw him. Elias, the neighbor who'd scowled at me for weeks, burst from his door, arms outstretched like he could catch the lightning itself. He didn't say a word, just scooped me up from the mud, his grip ironclad and warm against the chill, whispering only, "Not on my watch," as if I'd been his secret all along. I woke to the scent of strong coffee and the faint hum of a radiator kicking life back into a body that felt like it had been dragged through hell. My head throbbed, a souvenir from the fall, and for a moment, I forgot where I was, until the door creaked open and there he stood, Elias Hawthorne, all 6 feet of brooding intensity crammed into a faded flannel shirt and jeans that had seen better decades. His dark hair was tousled, like he'd run his hands through it one too many times, and those hazel eyes, usually narrowed in perpetual disapproval, now held a flicker of something softer, almost guilty. "You're awake," he grunted, setting a mug on the nightstand with more force than necessary. The steam curled up like a question mark. "Drink. You'll need it before you start asking why I dragged your sorry ass in here." I sat up slowly, wincing at the pull in my ribs, and took the mug. The bitterness hit my tongue sharp and grounding. "Why did you?" My voice came out raspy, laced with the vulnerability I hated showing anyone, especially not the man who'd made it his mission to ignore me since I moved into the building 3 months ago. Elias lived in the apartment next door, a fixture in this crumbling brick walk-up in Capitol Hill, the kind of place where the walls were thin enough to hear heartbeats and secrets seeped through like damp. He crossed his arms, leaning against the doorframe, his broad shoulders blocking the gray light filtering in from the window. Rain still pattered against the glass, a relentless reminder of last night's chaos. "Because you're a damn idiot who thinks wandering alleys at midnight in a storm is a plan. And because..." He trailed off, jaw tightening, that familiar scowl etching deeper lines around his mouth. "Forget it. Just stay out of trouble." But I couldn't forget it. Not when his hands had trembled just a fraction as he carried me up the stairs, not when I'd glimpsed the photo on his mantel. A younger Elias, arms slung around a man with a laugh frozen in time, both of them in army fatigues under a desert sun. I'd pieced together bits about him from the neighbors' whispers. Ex-Marine, widower in all but name, the guy who fixed leaky roofs for free but snarled at anyone who tried to thank him. And me? Alex Rivera, 28, freshly transplanted from a Bible Belt town where coming out had cost me my family and half my friends. I'd come to Seattle chasing rainbows, literal and figurative, hoping the city's progressive pulse would drown out the echoes of rejection. Instead, I'd found Elias, a wall of a man who pretended the world ended at his doorstep. That morning blurred into an uneasy truce. He shoved a bowl of oatmeal my way, lumpy but hot, and muttered about the power flickering from the storm. We didn't talk about the elephant in the room, the way his touch lingered when he checked my bruises, or how my pulse had raced not from fear, but from the electric charge of finally being seen. By noon, the skies cleared just enough for me to insist on going home, but as I shuffled to the door, he blocked it again. "Rivera," he said, voice low like gravel under tires. "You got anyone? Family? Someone who gives a damn?" The question hit like a sucker punch. I thought of my parents' last email, the one that read like a funeral notice. "We love you, but we can't love this." "No," I admitted, staring at the scuffed floorboards. "Just me." His sigh was a storm of its own, heavy and resigned. "Then you're stuck here till you're steady. Couch is yours." I wanted to argue, to reclaim my independence before it slipped away like everything else, but exhaustion won. That night, as thunder rumbled in the distance, I lay on his worn leather couch, listening to him pace the kitchen. The apartment was a time capsule, faded posters of indie bands from the 90s, shelves crammed with dog-eared paperbacks on history and poetry, a guitar gathering dust in the corner. It smelled of pine soap and old regrets, and somewhere in the walls, I swore I heard the ghost of that laugh from the photo. Days turned to a week, the storm's aftermath leaving Seattle sodden and subdued. Elias kept his distance during the daylight hours, vanishing to his handyman gigs around the neighborhood, but evenings brought a rhythm neither of us acknowledged. He'd cook, simple stuff, chili from a pot that simmered like it held stories, and we'd eat in silence broken only by the clink of spoons. I'd catch him watching me, not with the usual grumpiness, but with a scrutiny that peeled back layers, like he was mapping the fault lines in my soul. One night, emboldened by a second glass of his cheap red wine, I broke the quiet. "Why do you do it? Pretend like you don't care about anyone." He paused, fork midway to his mouth, those hazel eyes darkening like storm clouds rolling in. "Who says I pretend? You dragged me in from the rain. Fixed my phone with parts from your junk drawer. You're not fooling anyone, Hawthorne." A ghost of a smile tugged at his lips, the first I'd seen, and it transformed him, softened the hard edges, revealed the man beneath the armor. Maybe I like my solitude. Ever think of that? But I pressed, because the wine made me bold and the ache in my chest made me desperate. Solitude's a choice. Isolation's a cage. What's yours? He set his fork down, deliberate, and leaned back, the chair creaking under his weight. "You really want to know, kid? Fine. 20 years ago, I lost Jamie in a roadside bomb in Iraq. We were everything. Partners, fighters, the dumb kids who thought love could conquer wars. Army didn't care about labels back then. They just shipped us out and brought him home in a box. Came back to a country that patted me on the back for serving, then crossed the street when they figured out what we were. Friends faded, family. Well, let's just say blood don't always run thicker." His voice cracked on the last word, raw as an open wound, and I reached across the table without thinking, my hand covering his. Knuckles rough from years of labor, veins mapping a life of quiet battles. He didn't pull away. "I'm sorry," I whispered, the words inadequate as rain on fire. "That kind of loss. It doesn't fade, does it?" "No," he said simply, turning his hand to lace fingers with mine, a tentative bridge over the chasm. "But it carves space. For ghosts, mostly. Sometimes. For second chances." That touch ignited something fragile between us, a spark in the damp aftermath of storms. We didn't kiss. Not yet. But the air thickened with unspoken possibilities, charged like the moments before thunder. I told him about my own ghosts then. The father who burned my coming-out letter, the mother whose silence was sharper than screams, the ex who fled when the whispers turned to shouts. Elias listened, really listened, his presence an anchor in the narrative I'd spun alone for so long. By the end of the week, the bruises faded, but the pull between us grew. He'd brush past me in the kitchen, a graze of shoulder that sent shivers down my spine, or catch my eye across the room with a look that promised depths we hadn't plumbed. Seattle's summer teased at the edges, fog lifting to reveal glimpses of blue sky, mirroring the tentative thaw in Elias's guarded heart. But peace in Capitol Hill was as fleeting as a dry day. It started with a knock at his door one evening, sharp and insistent, shattering the bubble we'd built. I was midway through a story about my failed attempt at a barista job when Elias stiffened, his face draining of color. "Stay here," he muttered, rising like a man heading to his execution. I didn't listen. Peering from the hallway, I saw her, mid-40s, sharp bob haircut, eyes like chipped ice. "Elias Hawthorne," she said, voice clipped with the authority of someone who'd never questioned her own. "I'm Cassandra from the Neighborhood Watch. We've had complaints." "Complaints." His tone was even, but I saw the tension coiling in his shoulders. She glanced past him, spotting me, and her lips thinned. "About activities. This building has standards. Families live here. We don't tolerate displays." The word hung heavy, laced with the venom of unspoken slurs. My stomach twisted. I'd heard that tone before, in the hushed condemnations back home. Elias stepped forward, blocking her view. "If you've got a problem, say it plain. Otherwise, get off my stoop." Her gaze flicked to me again, calculating, and she straightened her cardigan like armor. "It's about morality, Elias. The pastor's group is concerned. Two men, living like, well, you know, it's unbecoming. And with the new city ordinances on display." "Out," he growled, the door slamming behind her with a finality that echoed through the walls. He turned, face a mask of fury, but when his eyes met mine, the anger crumbled into something protective, fierce. "You okay?" I nodded, throat tight. "She's one of them. The kind who smiles at pride parades but whispers poison behind closed doors. Elias pulled me into a hug then, unexpected and enveloping, his chin resting on my head. Let him whisper. They don't get to touch this. But they did touch it, in insidious ways. The next day, my mail slot was stuffed with flyers from the local church. Choose light over darkness. And Elias found his truck keyed with a sloppy cross. Whispers followed us on the street, eyes lingering too long at the grocery store. It was the slow poison of prejudice, seeping into the cracks of our fragile new world. We fought back in small ways. I volunteered at the local LGBTQ center, organizing story hours for queer youth, while Elias fixed up the center's leaky roof pro bono, his hammer a defiant rhythm against the doubters. But tension simmered, manifesting in late-night arguments where old wounds reopened. "You're too reckless," he'd snap when I stayed out late at community events. "This city's got teeth under the rainbow flags." "And you're too scared," I'd retort, the words tasting like betrayal. Hiding behind that gruff act like it'll save you from feeling. One such fight escalated on a rare, clear night, the city lights twinkling like distant stars from his fire escape. Words flew like shrapnel, accusations of clinging to ghosts, of fearing the future, and in the heat, I stormed out, the metal stairs clanging under my feet. I didn't get far. Half a block away, regret hit like a wave, but before I could turn back, tires screeched. A pickup truck, jacked up and gleaming with aggressive chrome, swerved toward the sidewalk where a group of us from the center lingered after a meeting. Shouts erupted, "Faggots go home," and bottles shattered against brick. Chaos. I dove for cover, glass slicing my palm, heart pounding as the truck peeled away into the night. Sirens wailed in the distance, but in that moment, all I could think was Elias's face, the way he'd looked at me like I was worth the risk. He found me there, blocks away, bandaging my hand with a gentleness that belied his fury. "I told you," he said, voice breaking as he wrapped the gauze. "This isn't just whispers. We reported it. The police station, a fluorescent-lit limbo where officers took notes with half-hearted nods. Hate crime," I insisted, but the desk sergeant shrugged. "Sounds like kids blowing off steam. We'll look into it." Elias's hand tightened on mine under the table. They always do, until they don't. That incident cracked something open between us, a raw honesty that stripped away pretenses. Back at his place, with the adrenaline crash leaving us hollow, he pulled me close on the couch. "I can't lose you too, Alex. Not to this shit." Our first kiss was tentative, born of fear and fire, a press of lips that tasted of salt and salvation. It deepened slowly, hands exploring with the reverence of survivors, mapping scars both seen and unseen. No rush, no frenzy, just the quiet affirmation that in each other, we'd found a harbor. But harbors aren't safe from storms. The backlash grew, anonymous letters slipped under doors accusing Elias of corrupting the youth, my job interviews drying up as rumors spread. We leaned harder into the community, finding allies in the center's ragtag family, drag queens with hearts of gold, trans elders sharing war stories, allies who showed up with casseroles and megaphones. Yet doubt crept in, a shadow in Elias's eyes during quiet moments. "What if I'm dragging you down?" he'd murmur, tracing patterns on my skin. "I'm twice your age, set in my ways. You deserve." "Shut up," I'd say, kissing the doubt away. "You deserve to be carried too." The fragile equilibrium shattered on a crisp autumn morning, leaves skittering across Broadway like warnings ignored. I'd been at the center, prepping for our annual fundraiser, a queer art auction to fund youth scholarships, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Tell your boyfriend to back off the church property, or we'll make sure he regrets it." Attached was a photo of Elias's truck, tires slashed, a rainbow sticker peeled off and trampled in the mud. My hands shook as I forwarded it to him, but his reply was calm, handled. "Focus on the auction." Stubborn man. I raced home anyway, finding him in the alley behind the building, patching the tires with tools scattered like battlefield debris. His sleeves were rolled up, forearms corded with effort, but it was the set of his jaw that stopped me, the quiet rage simmering beneath. "Elias." "Not now, Alex." He didn't look up, wrench turning with a metallic grind. I knelt beside him, ignoring the grit on my jeans. This is because of us. Because they see us together. He paused, wiping sweat from his brow with the back of his hand, leaving a streak of grease. Worlds always hated what it doesn't understand. Doesn't mean we stop living. But his eyes told a different story, haunted by memories of IEDs and empty dog tags. That night, as we lay tangled in his bed for the first time, sheets cool against fevered skin, he confessed in whispers what he'd buried deep. After Jamie, I swore off it all. Love's a liability in a war zone, and this city's just another front. But you make me want to fight again. I traced the faded tattoo on his chest, a compass rose encircled by Semper Fi, and felt the weight of his trust like a gift. Then fight with me, not against shadows. The auction was a triumph on the surface. Gallery walls alive with vibrant canvases by local queer artists, laughter echoing off exposed beams, bids climbing like hope. Elias hovered at the edges, nursing a soda, his presence a silent shield. But midway through, as I emceed a piece, an abstract swirl of blues and golds titled Tempest Hearts, the doors burst open. Cassandra again, flanked by 3 men in ill-fitting suits, the pastor's insignia gleaming on lapels. This event is an abomination, she declared, voice slicing through the chatter. Exploiting our community for deviance. Gasps rippled. I froze on stage, microphone heavy in my hand. This is a private event. Leave, or we'll call security. One of the men lunged forward, snatching a painting from the wall, a portrait of 2 men embracing under rain-slicked streets. Blasphemy, he snarled, hurling it to the floor. Glass shattered, and with it, the illusion of safety. Elias moved like a thunderclap, barreling through the crowd to tackle the man, fists flying in a blur of controlled fury. Get your hands off. Chairs toppled, screams erupted, and I dove into the fray, pulling at Elias's arm as security swarmed. The intruders were dragged out, but the damage lingered. A slashed canvas, bruised egos, and the metallic tang of fear in the air. As the crowd dispersed, murmuring sympathies, Elias slumped against the wall, knuckles bloodied, breath ragged. You could have been arrested, I said, dabbing at his hand with a napkin, my voice trembling with the what-ifs. Worth it, he muttered, but his eyes were distant, replaying old battles. Can't let them win. We cleaned up in silence, the center's director clapping my shoulder with weary gratitude. You're heroes, both of you. But be careful, these types don't forget. That warning echoed when, days later, Elias vanished. No note, no call, just an empty apartment and my key left in the lock. Panic clawed at me as I pounded on neighbors' doors, pieced together fragments. He'd taken a job upstate, something about fixing a barn for an old army buddy. A clean break, they said, to protect me. Bullshit. I knew better. It was fear, the kind that whispered you're not worth the war. I drove north through sheets of rain, windshield wipers slashing like accusations, the Cascades looming as judgmental sentinels. The address led to a remote farm, barns sagging under ivy, the air thick with damp earth. He was there, hammering nails into a beam, shirt soaked and clinging, muscles rippling with each swing. He didn't hear me approach over the downpour, until I grabbed the hammer from his hand. What the hell, Elias? You run? After everything. He turned, rain streaming down his face, mixing with something that looked suspiciously like tears. Go home, Alex. This ain't your fight. It's ours, I shouted, voice lost in the roar. You don't get to decide that alone. I'm not some kid you can bench. His laugh was bitter, hollow. You're young, full of fire. I can't watch you get burned like I did. I stepped closer, the mud sucking at my boots, and cupped his face, forcing those hazel eyes to meet mine. Then don't watch. Fight beside me, because losing you, that's the real burn. Thunder rolled, and he broke, pulling me against him, lips crashing in a kiss that tasted of rain and redemption. We stumbled into the barn, not for passion's sake, but for shelter, collapsing onto a hay-strewn floor where words poured out like the storm outside. He admitted the letters had unearthed nightmares, visions of Jamie's last letter, begging him to live fully if he didn't make it home. I failed him, Elias whispered, head in my lap as lightning forked the sky. Hid for years, let the hate win because it was easier than hoping. You didn't fail, I countered, fingers combing his wet hair. You're here. With me. That's hope. We drove back at dawn, the truck's cab a cocoon of quiet resolve. Seattle greeted us with tentative sun, but the city's underbelly stirred. Anonymous tips led to vandalism at the center. Windows smashed, Sodom scrawled in red paint. The police, under pressure from the pastor's influential flock, dragged their feet, muttering about insufficient evidence. Elias and I threw ourselves into advocacy, linking arms with activists for a press conference outside City Hall. Cameras flashed as we spoke. Me, voice steady with scripted fire. Him, raw and unpolished, recounting his service and loss. I fought for this country, he said, hand in mine. And I'll fight for the right to love without fear. The clip went viral, hashtags blooming like wildflowers. Seattle stands love no labels. Allies emerged, council members pledging investigations, celebrities retweeting solidarity. But virality bred venom too. Death threats in my inbox. Elias's work sites picketed. The breaking point came during a vigil for hate crime victims, candles flickering in the park like defiant stars. We'd just lit ours when shadows detached from the trees. 5 figures, hooded and hulking, bats in hand. Time to send a message. Their leader growled, voice muffled but malice clear. Panic surged, but Elias shoved me behind him, stance wide like a wall. Run, Alex, get help. No. I grabbed a loose branch, heart hammering. The first swing came for him, cracking against his shoulder with a sickening thud. He grunted, swinging back with a haymaker that dropped the attacker. Fists and shouts blurred into melee. I cracked my branch across a knee, pain exploding in my side as a boot connected. Sirens wailed closer, but not close enough, until Elias roared, tackling the leader into the underbrush, the two rolling in a tangle of fury. I lunged to pull him off, but the man beneath twisted, knife glinting in the candlelight. Elias. Time slowed. The blade arced, Elias twisting at the last second, steel biting flesh, blood blooming dark on his shirt. He staggered back, eyes wide with shock, and the attacker fled as blue lights flooded the park. Ambulance. Hospital. Sterile white walls closing in as surgeons stitched him up. Shallow cut, they said, but infection risk high. I sat vigil in the waiting room, knuckles white around his dog tags, replaying the what-ifs until nausea churned. He woke groggy, morphine soft, and squeezed my hand. Told you. Not on my watch. Laughter bubbled through tears. Idiot. Heroes don't get to bail. The attack made headlines. The pastor's group scrambling with denials, but evidence mounted. Security footage, witness statements tying them to Cassandra's circle. Protests swelled, a tide turning from tolerance to outrage. Elias recovered in my apartment. Our apartment now, walls repainted with colors that screamed defiance. Teal skies, sunset oranges. Yet scars lingered, not just the pink line on his ribs, but the ones etched deeper. Nightmares woke him, sweat-soaked and gasping Jamie's name, and I'd hold him until dawn, whispering anchors. You're safe. We're safe. One evening, as rain pattered a gentle lullaby, he pulled a small box from his pocket. Velvet, worn at the edges. Inside, 2 silver bands, simple and eternal. Not proposing the white picket way, he said, voice rough with emotion. But if you'll have me, partners, in every storm. Tears blurred my vision as I slipped the ring on. Always. Winter clamped down on Seattle like a vice, frost etching fractals on windows and turning breaths to ghosts. Our engagement, whispered at first, became a quiet beacon, texts to friends, a post on the center's board announcing a commitment ceremony come spring. But joy was a fragile bloom in hostile soil. The pastor's faction, cornered by mounting scandals, lashed out with lawsuits. Defamation claims against Elias for his press conference remarks. Injunctions against the Center for Indecent Assembly. Lawyers descended, a parade of suits and legalese that drained our savings and spirits. Elias threw himself into work, taking double shifts repairing storm-damaged roofs, coming home bone-tired and distant. I'd find him staring at the rings on our fingers, thumb rubbing the metal like a talisman against doubt. It's not the money, he admitted one night, snow blanketing the city in hush. It's the reminder. Every fight's a reminder I could lose you. I pulled him close, our bodies fitting like puzzle pieces worn smooth by time. Then let's remind them, and ourselves, what we're fighting for. We pivoted, crowdfunding for legal fees, themed around love's last stand, stories from queer couples weathering the gales. Donations poured in, laced with messages that mended cracks. Your story gave me courage to come out. Elias read them aloud by firelight, voice thickening, the gruff exterior yielding to vulnerability. But twists lurked in unexpected corners. A letter arrived, postmarked from my hometown, handwriting eerily familiar. Inside, a check, 5 figures, and signed, and a note. Saw your face on the news. Proud, son. Use this to build. My father's script, after years of silence. I crumpled it, heart warring between fury and ache. Elias unfolded it gently. Hate doesn't erase blood. Maybe this is his olive branch. Or guilt money. But I deposited it anyway, the funds bolstering our defense. Days later, a call from an unknown number. My mother, voice quavering over static. Alex, we were wrong. Watching you fight. It woke us up. Tears came unbidden. Too late for sorries. Never too late for love, she whispered. Come home. Both of you. The invitation hung, a bridge half built. Elias squeezed my shoulder. Your call, Alex. But wherever you go, I'm there. Spring unfurled tentative petals as our ceremony approached, a backyard affair at the center, strung with lights and laughter. Invites went out, center folk, new allies from the protests, even my parents, flying in with cautious hope. Elias fretted over vows, scribbling drafts on napkins, his marine precision yielding to poetic stumbles. You're turning soft, I teased, kissing ink-smudged fingers. Only for you, he shot back, pulling me into a dance in the kitchen, radio crooning old jazz. The day dawned golden, Puget Sound sparkling like promise. Guests milled under a canopy of cherry blossoms, drag aunties trading quips, trans youth snapping selfies. My parents arrived last, my father stiff in khakis, mother clutching a quilt, hand-stitched, rainbow threads weaving through traditional patterns. Hugs were awkward, words halting, but their presence was a victory. As the officiant called us forward, Elias took my hands, rings glinting. Alex, you crashed into my world like that storm. Uninvited, unstoppable. I pretended not to care because caring hurt too much. But you taught me storms pass, and what's left is stronger. I vow to carry you, not because you need it, but because you make me whole. Tears blurred his face as I echoed back, voice steady. Elias, you were my grumpy anchor when I was adrift. You showed me love isn't loud fanfare, but quiet strength in the rain. I vow to stand with you, through prejudices and tempests, because together, we're unbreakable. Cheers erupted, petals raining down, but joy fractured in an instant. A shout from the perimeter. Hypocrites. Cassandra, wild-eyed, clutching a megaphone, backed by a dozen sign-waving zealots. Repent or perish. Blared, drowning the music. Security moved, but not before eggs splattered the canopy, yolks dripping like accusations. Panic rippled, guests shielding kids, my mother gasping as a sign bashed a table. Elias surged forward, but I held him back. Not like this. Not on our day. Police arrived, hauling the disruptors away, but the mood soured, guests filtering out with strained smiles. My parents lingered, father clapping Elias's shoulder. Takes guts. Reminds me of my old man. Fought in Nam, came back changed. You too. You're changing things. We salvaged the reception in the center's lounge, toasts turning defiant. But as night fell, Elias and I slipped away to the rooftop, city lights a mosaic below. Ruined, he muttered, nursing a bruise from a stray elbow. Enhanced, I countered, leaning into him. Proof we're worth disrupting. Summer heat baked the asphalt, trials dragging into sweltering courtrooms. The defamation suit crumbled under cross-examination, Elias's service record a shield, the pastor's emails a sword turned against them. Victory tasted bittersweet. Fines levied, but apologies absent, the group splintering into quieter fringes. Freed, we honeymooned locally, ferry to Bainbridge, hikes through moss-draped forests, hands linked like vows renewed. Whispers of normalcy, grocery runs, movie nights, the domestic dance of two lives entwining. But normalcy bred complacency, and complacency invited shadows. Fall brought a new face to the building. Jordan, a charming barista from down the street, all easy smiles and lingering glances. He moved in across the hall, helping with boxes, his laugh echoing like an old temptation. Elias noticed first, tension coiling as Jordan dropped by with coffee. Friendly sort, he'd grunt, but his eyes narrowed. He's harmless, I said, but guilt flickered. Jordan's flirtation's a mirror to my younger self, wild and unscarred. One evening, Elias confronted it head-on, voice low over dinner. That kid looks at you like you're a prize. And you light up. Jealousy, raw and unfamiliar from the man who'd faced down bombs. It's nothing. Flattery from a cute guy. But I'm not young. He stood, chair scraping. Not shiny. Maybe you need. Stop. I rose, closing the distance. You're everything. The rest is noise. He searched my face, doubt warring with trust, and pulled me close. Promise. Promise. The kiss sealed it, fierce and reaffirming. But the seed of insecurity took root. Jordan's presence escalated subtly. Invites to group hangs at the bar, texts with memes that blurred friendly and forward. I rebuffed gently, but Elias withdrew, burying in work, his gruffness returning like an old coat. The blow came during a center holiday party, mulled wine flowing, lights twinkling. Jordan cornered me by the punch bowl, breath warm. Alex, you're wasted here with that old grouch. Come out with us, real fun. Before I could retort, Elias loomed, voice thunder. He's taken. Back off. Jordan smirked. Jealous much, Grandpa? Fists clenched, but I stepped between. Enough. Jordan out. He slunk away, but the damage festered. That night, Elias paced, words tumbling. Saw it coming. I'm holding you back. Your spark, your youth. You're projecting ghosts, I snapped, frustration boiling. Jamie's not me, and I'm not leaving. But he packed a bag at dawn, eyes hollow. Need space. To remember why I fight. Alone again, the apartment echoed with absence. I threw myself into the center, mentoring a shy teen grappling with family rejection, his story an echo of mine. Days blurred, but ache gnawed. Elias's flannel on the chair, his coffee mug stained with memories. A week in, a call from the center's director. Elias is here. Crashed a youth workshop, talking service and survival. Kid, he's a mess, but he's trying. I arrived to find him with the group, voice steady as he shared. Love's not perfect. It's choosing the mess every day. Our eyes met across the circle, a silent plea. Later, on the center steps, rain misting, he knelt, not in proposal, but surrender. I panicked. Thought you'd wake up and see the wrinkles, the baggage. I hauled him up, foreheads touching. I see the man who carried me through storms. That's enough. Forgiveness was a balm, but growth demanded work. Couples counseling with a queer therapist, sessions unpacking closets and cadavers. Elias opened about Jamie's letters, read aloud in therapy's safe harbor. I delved into parental wounds, the quilt from my mother a talisman now. Winter thawed into resolve, our bond tempered like steel and fire. Jordan moved out, tail between legs, and peace settled, fragile, but ours. Yet fate, capricious, brewed another gale. Spring brought news. Elias's old army buddy, Marcus, in town for a veterans reunion. Charismatic, scarred like Elias, with a laugh that bridged old pains. They reconnected over beers, stories flowing like rivers long dammed. I joined once, feeling the easy camaraderie, but unease stirred. Marcus's hand on Elias's shoulder, lingering. Paranoia? Or intuition? Elias dismissed it. Just brothers in arms. But late nights stretched, reunions extending to dinners. One evening, I tailed him, guilt twisting, to a quiet bistro, watching through glass as Marcus leaned in, lips brushing Elias's cheek in farewell. Innocent? Or echo? Confrontation brewed that night, words sharp. What's going on? Nothing. Defensive, then crumbling. Marcus. He gets the parts of me the war locked away. But it's you, Alex. Always. Truth surfaced in tears. Marcus, grappling with his own losses, seeking solace. not seduction. A boundary crossed in grief, not desire. We rebuilt, boundaries drawn with care, therapy a compass. Summer bloomed, and with it, a new chapter, adopting a rescue dog, a scruffy mutt named Storm, who bounded into our lives with chaotic joy. Autumn leaves carpeted Capitol Hill in crimson and gold, a fleeting beauty before winter's grasp. Elias and I settled into rhythms deepened by trials. Morning walks with Storm, herding her fluffy chaos through dew-kissed parks. Evenings curled with books, his head in my lap as I read poetry aloud. The center thrived, our story a cornerstone for workshops on resilience, drawing crowds from across the Sound. But beneath the calm, fissures lingered. Elias's nightmares persisted, sporadic but savage, pulling him from sleep with shouts of sand and shrapnel. I'd soothe him back, but one dawn, after a particularly brutal episode, he confessed over coffee, steam curling like unspoken fears. Therapy's helping, but the VA's pushing a group for vets with losses. Like me. Think I should go. My heart swelled, pride laced with pang. Absolutely. Facing it head on. That's you. The group met in a nondescript community hall, folding chairs in a circle of grizzled faces. He returned quieter those nights, sharing fragments, tales of buddies lost, the hollow ache of survivors' guilt. They're ghosts too, he'd say, but talking makes 'em lighter. I supported from afar, cooking his favorites, spicy gumbo from a recipe Jamie's mom had shared years back, but envy crept, insidious as fog. These men knew Elias pre-me, the unscarred version, and I wondered if laughter came easier without my baggage. The twist came unannounced, a letter from the VA, inviting Elias to speak at a national conference on queer veterans' mental health. Your story could save lives, it read. He showed me, eyes alight with purpose I'd not seen since the protests. Go, I urged, masking the knot in my gut. Be the hero. He jetted to D.C., a week of panels and spotlights. Texts flowed, miss you. Crowd's tough, but real. Until silence fell on day 4. Calls went to voicemail, worry gnawing as Storm paced, sensing my unrest. A knock shattered the quiet. Marcus, duffel in hand, face etched with urgency. Alex, Elias is in the hospital. Panic attack mid-panel. Bad one. He's asking for you. The flight blurred in terror, airports a gauntlet of delays and dread. D.C. greeted with sterile efficiency. The VA center a maze of beeps and blue gowns. Elias lay pale in the bed, for dripping calm into veins, hazel eyes shadowed but softening at my approach. Scared you, he rasped, hands seeking mine. Understatement. I sank beside him, Storm's leash phantom in my grip. What happened? Crowd asked about Jamie. Spiraled. Felt him there, bleeding out again. Tears tracked his temples. Thought I'd lost it all over. Doctors murmured PTSD flares, prescribing rest and readjustment. Marcus waited outside, apologetic. Pushed too hard. Old habits, riling each other up like in the sandbox. Forgiveness came easy. Blame served no one. I stayed, nursing him through recovery. Hospital jello for breakfast, walks in the tidal basin's cherry ghosts. You're not alone in this, I whispered nightly, our rings clinking like chimes. He returned to Seattle changed, not broken, channels carved deeper for light. The conference footage aired, his vulnerability a beacon, sparking helplines and hotlines nationwide. Pride swelled, but so did the spotlight's glare. Interview requests, book offers, the world demanding pieces of our private war. We navigated it together, setting boundaries like sentinels. But fame's undercurrent stirred old currents. A producer called, pitching a docuseries, Storms of the Heart, our story, unvarnished. Authentic heroes, she gushed. Elias hesitated, glancing at me over dinner. Could help others. But, exposing more? After everything. I weighed it. The reach versus the raw. If we're in it side by side, yes. Filming invaded gently at first. Cameras in the apartment, capturing Storm's antics, our banter laced with history. But as shoots deepened, probing losses and loves, tensions simmered. Directors pushed for drama. More conflict. Show the fights. Elias bristled. Post-shoot grumps turning to silences. Feels like they're scripting our pain. One night, After a reenactment of the Vigil attack, actors swinging props, his flinch too real, he snapped. Enough. This isn't catharsis, it's circus. Crew packed up, but rift lingered. I mediated, but words failed. It's for the greater good. Is it? Or are we trophies now? Doubt festered, manifesting in small erosions. Canceled date nights for reshoots, storms sensing the chill, whining at doors. A breaking point loomed during a live panel at a film fest, moderator pressing. Elias, how has Alex changed you? Or held you back? Silence stretched, audience leaning in. His jaw worked, eyes flicking to me stage left. Changed? Infinitely. Held back? Never. But love's work, constant. Sometimes you gotta remind yourself why you signed up. Applause thundered, but backstage, he pulled me aside. That true? Or polite lie? Truth, I said, fierce. But we need a break from the lens. Us, unscripted. We retreated, unplugging for a cabin in the Olympics. Log walls, crackling fire, no signal. Days blurred into hikes and heart-to-hearts, storm romping through ferns. Remember the alley? Elias murmured by the lake, pebbles skipping under his throw. One storm, and here we are. Through many, I added, lacing fingers. To more. Reentry brought clarity. The series greenlit with edits honoring our voice, a platform, not a prison. Release night, premiere packed with allies, my parents in the front row, tears mirroring ours on screen. Cheers faded to quiet, post-party glow in our bed. Proud, Elias asked, voice sleep-soft. Immensely. Winter whispered warnings anew. A call from the center, budget cuts looming, funding slashed by conservative council pushes. Our docuseries fame helped rally donors, but grassroots grit demanded more. Elias stepped up, organizing vet-queer fundraisers, BBQs with storytelling circles, proceeds funneled direct. I handled youth programs, mentoring a kid named Riley, 16 and fierce, whose family echoed my old pains. Riley's crisis hit like lightning. Outed by a sibling, parents locking doors. He crashed at the center, eyes hollow. They said I'm dead to them. Echoes of my youth. I called Elias mid-shift. He arrived with pizza and presents. Not dead, he said, arm around the boy. Just lost. We'll map the way. That night, Riley slept on our couch, storm curled at his feet. Elias and I watched from the kitchen, coffee steaming. Deja vu, I whispered. Yeah, but better ending. Spring surged with renewal. Riley's family in counseling, tentative bridges building. Our own milestone loomed. A vow renewal, marking 2 years since the alley, inviting the village that sustained us. But shadows clung. Anonymous posts surfaced online, doxing attempts, old photos of Elias in uniform twisted with slurs. Traitor vet loves the enemy. Hate mail piled, storm growling at the slot. Elias hardened, but I saw the toll, sleepless eyes, clenched fists. Can't let them in, I urged, but he waved it off. Handled. Until it wasn't. A package arrived, no return. Inside, Jamie's dog tags, stolen from a memorial box years back, bent and bloodied with pig's red. Rage and grief collided. Elias shattered, roaring through the apartment, tags clenched till knuckles blanched. Bastards. How'd they get this? Police traced it to a disgruntled ex-church member, arrested swiftly, but violation lingered, a stain on sanctuary. We fortified. Security cams, therapy intensives, community watches. Elias channeled fury into advocacy, testifying at council hearings, voice steel. Hate doesn't just wound bodies, it desecrates souls. Protect us, or history repeats. His words swayed votes. Ordinances strengthened against doxing. Victory tasted of ash, but progress pushed forward. Summer solstice brought healing. A private ritual at Jamie's memorial stone in the cemetery, Elias laying fresh tags, whispering closures. I stood sentinel, hand in his. He's at peace. Because you are. Tears fell, mingling with dew. With you, yeah. Fall harvested fruits. The center's expansion funded, Riley thriving in college apps. Our life, a tapestry woven tight. Yet autumn winds carried a gale from the past. My ex, Tyler, blowing into Seattle on a reconciliation tour. Charming as ever, regret polished, he texted, heard your story. Owe you an apology. Coffee. Elias tensed over the message. Don't. But curiosity and unresolveds drew me to a cafe. Tyler, all remorseful eyes. I was scared, Alex. Your strength now. It's inspiring. Words flowed, catharsis bittersweet. But as I rose to leave, he grabbed my wrist. Wait. I still love me. I pulled free. Too late. I'm loved better. Home. I confessed to Elias, expecting storm. Instead, embrace. Knew you'd go. Trust you to come back. Growth, earned. Winter's Eve, snow blanketing, we hosted a solstice dinner. Parents, Riley, center kin. Laughter rang, toast to survivals. As guests departed, Elias drew me to the window, flakes dancing. First storm brought you. Ever since. Braver together. I kissed him, slow and sure. To endless skies. The new year dawned crisp, resolutions etched in frost on the sound. Elias and I embraced routines refined by fire. Joint yoga at dawn, storm's tail thumping approval. Volunteer shifts at the center, co-leading resilient circles where stories swapped like shields. Our docuseries streamed wide, feedback a chorus of thanks, letters from isolated vets, teens finding mirrors in our mess. But equilibrium teetered on subtle shifts. Elias's VA group deepened bonds. He'd return buoyant, tales of shared scars lightening his step. I celebrated, yet a whisper nagged. Was I his anchor or afterthought? The catalyst arrived via email, an invite to a queer-lit festival in Portland, me as panelist on memoir writing through trauma. Road trip. I proposed, eyes sparkling. Elias grinned. Storm stays with your folks? The drive south wound through evergreens, radio humming indie folk, hands linked over gear shift. Portland buzzed, bookstores brimming, streets alive with rainbow flags year-round. My panel crackled, audience leaning into questions on turning pain to prose. Post-talk, a fan approached, young writer, Ernest. Your voice in the series, Raw, inspired my coming-out essay. Elias, lurking sidelines, beamed pride. But as signings wrapped, he vanished into the crowd. I found him at a vendor booth, flipping through a poetry chapbook, Jamie's favorite collection, dog-eared facsimile. Memory lane? I teased, slipping arms around him. Something like. His smile faltered. Reading these makes me miss the chaos of youth. Us, young and dumb. Envy flipped to insight. We can be chaotic now. Dance floor. The festival after-party pulsed, bass thumping under strung lights. We danced, awkward at first, Elias's marine stiffness yielding to my lead. Laughter bubbling as storm's ghost nipped heels in memory. Sweat slick and breathless, we collapsed into hotel sheets, bodies reaffirming what words sometimes fumbled. Young enough for me, he murmured, tracing my jaw. Chaotic enough, I echoed. Return invigorated, but Seattle's pulse quickened with unrest. City elections loomed, a conservative challenger railing against woke excesses, code for queer rights rollback. Billboards sneered, family values first. Our center became ground zero, petitions circulating, vigils planned. Elias dove in, rallying vets for cross-community alliances. Fought for freedom abroad, won't cede it here. I coordinated youth turnout, Riley captaining a student march, his growth a spark. But opposition dug claws. School board whispers sidelining queer curricula, our events picketed anew. A midnight call shattered sleep, center vandalized, walls spray-painted abomination, windows boarded hasty. We arrived to chaos, volunteers sweeping glass, director pale. Elias surveyed damage, jaw set. They want fear. We'll give resolve. Cleanup became rally cry, donors surging. But personal barbs struck, my parents, visiting, caught flack at their hotel, brochures under doors decrying enablers. Father's call came gruff, ignore him. But, be safe, son. Safety frayed when, post-march, a tail followed us home, black sedan, tinted menace. Elias spotted it first, pulling over sharp. Stay put. He confronted shadows empty-handed, voice boom. Show your face, or back off. Engine revved, vanishing into fog. Police logged it, but unease clung like damp. Therapy unpacked it, Elias's protectiveness tipping to paranoia, my independence chafing. Can't bubble wrap me, I insisted. Can't lose you, he countered. Compromise, self-defense classes, together, punches thrown, laughs shared, Storm barking encouragement. Spring elections barreled, our side canvassing door to door, faces weary but fierce. Debate night, town hall packed, challenger sneering at a queer vet questioner. Personal choices don't dictate policy. Elias, an audience, stood unbidden. Served 2 tours, lost my partner to war's hate. Your choices dismiss lives. Voters deserve better. Mic drop silence, then applause crashing. Challenger faltered, polls shifting overnight. Victory night, concession speech sour, we celebrated at the center, confetti, cake, Storm in a tiny sash. My parents danced awkwardly, mother whispering. Your father's writing letters, to the paper, defending you. Tears pricked. Healing, slow, but real. Summer simmered with expansion, center annex funded, youth programs booming. Elias's book deal landed. A memoir, carried through storms, ghost of our series. Writing sessions turned intimate, him at the desk, me editing over wine. Too raw, he'd ask, passages bleeding vulnerability. Perfect, I'd say. Real. But publication loomed, stirring ghosts. Jamie's family surfaced, sister, long estranged, emailing tentative. Heard about the book. Mind if I read in advance? Elias paled, forwarding it. Haven't spoken since the funeral. I urged, Bridget, for closure. They met at a neutral cafe, me waiting blocks away. He returned shell-shocked, but lighter. She forgave the hiding. Said Jamie'd be proud. Healing rippled, book launch a catharsis, readings laced with laughter, signings hugging survivors. Fall brought bounty, Riley's college acceptance, full ride to UW, majoring in social work. Your fault, he grinned, hugging us. Mentors like you. Pride swelled, but twist lurked in harvest moon. A storm, literal, fierce, barreled in, gales howling like old foes. Power flickered, trees toppling, our building shuddering. Mid-bluster, knock insistent. Elderly neighbor, Mrs. Hale, widowed and frail, power out, alone. Scared dears. Elias bundled her in, Storm warming her lap, us brewing tea by candlelight. Stories flowed. Her own secret, a wartime love with a WC nurse, lost to silence. Danced around it, she sighed. Like you too, but braver. Dawn broke clear, her gratitude a quilt gifted, stitched with hidden rainbows. Winter's hush followed, holidays hybrid. My parents hosting, Seattle kin zooming in. Dinner tables bridged miles, toasts to kinships forged. New Year's Eve, rooftop under stars, Elias pulled an envelope. For us. Inside, adoption papers, fostering, open to a queer youth in need. Storm needs a sibling. And we. Room for more. Heartful, I kissed him. Yes. To family. The match came swift. Theo, 14, sharp-eyed and scarred. Family fled after coming out clash. First meeting awkward. Storm slobbers breaking ice. But connection sparked. Theo's grin tentative. Homecomings blurred. Bunk built. Rules set gentle. Elias parented steady. Bedtime stories laced with service tales. I handled homework wars. Empathy my weapon. Challenges mounted. Theo's nightmares mirroring Elias's. School bullies echoing old taunts. Family therapy knit us. 3 threads twisting strong. One night, Theo cornered me. You and Elias. Real? After all the crap? Realist, I said. Storms make rainbows. Spring bloomed Theo's thaw. Art club sketches of us. Storm is sidekick. Pride parade. He marched between. Sign bold. Family found. Summer camped us in the Cascades. Tents, trails, Theo's laughs echoing canyons. Elias taught knots. I stars. Bonds unbreakable. But autumn winds whispered peril. Theo's biodad surfaced. Custody bid laced with reform. Court loomed. Hearts pounding. We fought. Lawyers, letters, Theo's voice steady. Here's home. Judges ruled our favor, dad fading. Victory picnic, park under leaves, Theo toasting. To carriers. Elias ruffled his hair. All of us. Winter wrapped gentle, holidays fuller. New Year's, for now, Theo, Storm, us, fireworks bursting. Elias drew me aside. Alley to this. Worth every drop. Every thunder, I agreed. Years folded like accordions, seasons cycling through scars and sunrises. Theo grew, lanky teen to poised young man, college-bound for activism, his room a shrine to our patchwork family. Storm aged gracefully, gray muzzle wise, still hurting us with joyful barks. Elias's book soared, sequels birthing speaking tours. I penned my own, Rainbow in the Rain, collaborations weaving our voices. The center evolved into a beacon, national model, branches sprouting in red states, our alley origins legend. My parents retired nearby, grandfathering Theo with fishing trips, apologies evolved to allies. Yet time's tide tugged. Elias's shoulder, old vigil wound, ached and damp. My temples silvered, laugh lines mapping joys. We leaned, unashamed, massages traded, adventures scaled today's sails on the sound. A gale revisited autumn's edge, hurricane remnants lashing coast. Alerts blared, evacuations urged, but we hunkered, boarded windows, pantry stocked, Theo home from dorms. Winds howled, power snapped, candles our constellation. Stories circled, Theo's first crush, Elias's desert dawns, my Bible belt burns. Laughter defied roar. Midstorm, roof leak sprung, drip escalating to deluge. Elias climbed ladder, me spotting, Theo flashlight wielding. Not again, he grunted, patching frantic. Thunder cracked, ladder wobbling. I steadied, heart lurching. Down now. He descended, soaked but safe, pulling us into huddle. Team Hawthorne Rivera. Dawn cleared, damage minor, but bond fortified. Cleanup rallied neighbors. Mrs. Hale's kin. Jordan reformed his ally. Community, quilt mending. Winter's gift. Theo's partner, Kai, shy artist with ink-stained hands. Dinner approvals awkward, Elias grilling gentle. Hurt him, answer to me. Kai grinned. Promise to cherish. Spring weddings bloomed. Theo and Kai's, garden affair under blossoms, us officiating. Vows echoed ours. Through storms, unbreakable. Summer sabbatical. Road trip east, Theo driving, playlists eclectic. Badlands to Berkshires, histories layered. Elias's service sites, my roots revisited, parents joining for barbecue absolution. Fall harvest's wisdom. Center gala, us honored lifetime achievers. Speeches humble, Elias. Not heroes, just stubborn lovers. Me. Carried each other. Still do. Crowd roared, but quiet afterglow mattered. Home, storm dreaming by fire. Theo and Kai visiting, tales tumbling. Yet shadows lengthened inevitable. Elias's checkup yielded shadows, prostate whispers, early but insistent. Treatable, docs assured, but fear coiled. We faced it tag team, appointments double-booked, humor shield. Bald from chemo? Sexy, I quipped. He laughed, weak but true. Your turn next, Silver Fox. Theo rallied. Fundraisers masked as parties, Kai's art auctioning hope. Community cocooned, meals delivered, walks paced slow. Remission rang spring, bells pealing. Elias stronger, us softer, gratitude daily, touches lingering. Summer sailed serene, family cruises, Theo's first apartment keys handed. Proud, Elias choked, hugging fierce. Fall's foliage framed reflection, memoir update, chapters closing, new opening. Winter's Eve, snow globe Seattle, we rooftop toasted. Alley anniversary, Elias murmured, rings clinking. Worlds carried, I replied. Theo married Kai midsummer, vows under arbor we built, Elias steadying beams, me stringing lights. Guests spanned eras, center kids now mentors, my parents tearful, Mrs. Hale dozing content. Dance floor swirled, Elias pulling me close. Our turn again. Renewal whispers followed, intimate, beachside, waves applauding. Still yes, we chorused. Ages advanced gentle, grandkids imagined in Theo's sketches, Storm's successor a pup named Thunder. Center legacy, scholarships in Jamie's name, alley plaque. Here, Storm's birth strength. One twilight, park bench, Elias's head on my shoulder. Pretended not to care once. Now, I prompted. Care infinitely. Kiss soft, eternal. Storms pass. Love endures. Thunder to rainbow.